your position on law and order, treating everybody fairly, is absolutely clear in principle. But of course, in practice, it's difficult. We struggle with it every day, even in Washington, D.C., to provide equal justice. There have been a number of crimes in recent months against Serbs south of Eva. The record of convictions against people who have committed these crimes is not sterling. I don't have it in front of me, but it's not, you're not catching everybody and sending them to jail right away. What can be done to better protect not just Serbs, but other minorities living under Christianist authority? And what do you think is lacking today that you need more of?
Thank you, Mr. Server. I will go a little bit more wider with an answer. Not because of my background serving in the law enforcement, but the issue of the fighting the crime in general, and particularly the organized crime and the corruption, which is still a challenge for not only for Kosovo, but all of the regional countries, is one of the main objectives for government of Kosovo and for my presidency in the coming months and years ahead. But if somebody would be here in this room and tell me and raise the hand that says that is any country in the world that can fight a crime, corruption, as particularly the trans-border crime, solo within their borders, I would say that that is a mission impossible. So Kosovo still is not a member of the Interpol, Europol, and all other regional organizations which are in the scope of fighting the crime in general. So our institution and the government of Kosovo is trying to do their best through the support of the international organization like is the EULEX with the mandate of the rule of law to establish and offer the proper services on the fight against crime in general for all the people of Kosovo. When we speak about the north, about the cases in the northern part of Kosovo, these people, these citizens of the Kosovo, they have to have a full cooperation and they have to have a full openness and trust towards the local institutions of Kosovo. The answer to what has been happening for these past months in 3 or 4 municipalities in northern of Kosovo, it's nothing about the rule of law. These people should not be a victim, and at least me as the president of the country, I have been pleasing, I have been asking also during my visits into the minority communities that they have to leave being a tool of manipulation of the criminal groups or the gangs which are led out of their personal interest and which are led out of the interest of the contraband and are led of the interest of the money laundering and other matters. They have to have more trust into the institutions of Kosovo. Kosovo has created, together with international community, beginning with the army police, later now with the EULEX police, sufficient capacities in order to address all of the cases. We still are in the huge cooperation with international community of providing a sufficient basis for all men and women in all parts of the Kosovo belonging to the minority or to the majority of the communities on Kosovo, that all of their cases has to be treated fairly in accordance to the Constitution of Kosovo, laws of the Kosovo, and all of the international conventions.
Thank you. Questions? Please. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Brian Beery, Washington correspondent for Europolitics. It's a European affairs newspaper based in Brussels. And as you know, there's 5 of the 27 EU member states that don't recognize Kosovo. What is your message to them today? And what do you think that the European Commission has a role in trying to persuade them to change their position, or even the other 22 EU member states have a role to try and get the 5 to change their position?
Thank you very much. And as I said in my introduction notes, that the future of Kosovo and all of the regional countries is via the European or the EU integration and the Euro-Atlantic integration. Some countries has done quite a good progress, regional countries, on the direction of fulfilling of the precondition of all the reforms necessary within the country to move in that process. The enlargement policy of the European Union in general has to be seen with a different view. There has not to be a waiting time or the time to step back and think for every of the processes. Each of the country, they are separate within their own processes. Kosovo yet, as I said in my remarks, has not benefited out of the contractual relations. We are now hoping to get the process of the visa liberalization, which is the basic right of all of the people to travel freely within the European country. And still, Kosovo has not been a part of the SSA agreement and the trade relation. We do know that the complication relies within the 5 countries of the EU which has not recognized Kosovo in order to have the agreement within the Brussels about the permission on the contractual relation and on the trade relation. But the formula has to be found within the European Union, which has to be fitting to the specification of each of the country, and particularly to the Kosovo situation, that we are very much keen and we are very much committed, the institutions of Kosovo and the government of Kosovo, for the years in the beginning under the Atifete administration, later with the EULEX itself, the EU was within Kosovo. Our requirement was that all of the reforms we want to do it, and we will be doing hand to hand with the European Union. My pledging for the European countries, 5 of them, which has not recognized Kosovo, who are the EU members, and 4 of them who are not within the NATO, is that Kosovo is a single case. They should not compare Kosovo to some of the natures or some of the specifications within their countries. This is not for the sake of Kosovo. This is for the sake of the region. This is for the sake of the European Union. As much as goes into the benefit of Kosovo, that much will be going into the benefit of the European Union. As faster the all regional countries, including Kosovo, will be moving towards the European Union, as easier will be for the EU.
Thank you. Other questions?
Attaché designate to Kosovo. And I've got a question I want to try to ask in English and a little bit in probably in English. But the Kosovo Constitution calls for ethnic diversity in the institutions of Kosovo. Has Kosovo been successful in including ethnic diversity in the institutions? And CA Garantoni Diversitaten ethnic ne Kosovo institutions.
Right.
So do you want my answer now in Albanian or in English?
This is a shout out to my teacher here, my teacher sitting next to me. So,
Well done. I'm impressed.
thank you. Volunteer.
Thank you very much. And I think that one of the biggest strengths and the greatest values for the Kosovo and the composition of the Kosovo's institution was itself, or its diversity. As it being said, and it's been already stated in the constitution in Kosovo, it's being applied in all of the institutions of Kosovo. We have in the Parliament of Kosovo, which are composed of 20 of the minorities, out of 120 are composed of 20 members of the Parliament of Kosovo, are members of the different communities. Within the government of Kosovo, we have one deputy prime minister who belongs to the Serbian community, and we have about 3 ministers who belong to the minority communities as well. I think that for the decades, and this is not only for the years or after the end of the war or the conflict in Kosovo after 1999, but this trend of the multi-ethnicity, multi-gender, and the composition of our country has been one of the largest strengths and the treasure that our people, our community, has been built for the decades back, and that is going to be one of our largest value to joining to the more further values of the European Union. And the integration, which is one of the golden rules of the European Union, is the process that Kosovo has undergone for more than 2 or 3 decades. Now we just need one step ahead, jointly with all communities equally living in Kosovo, moving towards the integration of the European Union.
Thank you. Other questions, please?
Hi, I'm Liz Gabster from NDI, National Democratic Institute. I was wondering if you could speak further on the institution of the presidency itself. Given the rather tumultuous period in the months prior to your presidency, how do you feel you personally shaped this role? How do you feel the view of the people in Kosovo have changed regarding the presidency, or any further thoughts along that line?
I will be addressing to you very shortly, not speaking about in general work within our presidency. But I would be focused in 2 largest success that not only my presidency, but I think that we are a role model on the region and the world as regard of the political stability that has been achieved for the very first time in the Republic of Kosovo, and I believe in many of the regional countries. The consensual president has been elected by electing myself with 2/3 of the votes in the Parliament of Kosovo. And my position of keeping the contacts, keeping the relation, and having this political stability within all political parties within the Kosovo has been one of the largest strengths for the country and for the institutions of Kosovo. Many of you would probably say that has you gone across of agreeing or disagreeing in certain points or so. I have chosen the way of the teamwork and team spirit between the institutions of the Kosovo, no matter is that the executive element or other institution, and morely for the political parties who are represented in the Parliament of Kosovo. My second strength and our biggest challenge had to come is that for the very first time in the office of the President of Kosovo, and again, I'm talking to our Minister of European Integration here, we are going to be a single country in the region which will have two commissions headed and chaired by the president of the country. One is for the European integration, and second one is for the coordination and collaboration with all institutions on the country on the regard of the rule of law for the fight against organized crime and the corruption.
Let me follow up a little. There's been talk about popular election of the president in Kosovo. You can come sit too. There's been talk about popular election of the president in Kosovo rather than the procedure of the parliament. Is this a good idea, or would you prefer to keep it the way it is?
So I have to give like two versions of the answer. First of all, it is against Constitution for me to declare what kind of option would be more appropriate while the time I host the position as a president. Second one is that we are having since April time a committee, parliamentary committee, who is working on the process of the review of the Constitution and the amendments of the Constitution. And I can tell you that one of the largest debates has been done, which took for weeks on the will or will not, or shall not be the president elected by the people or by the parliament. So I will leave up to the commission to finish their job, but I will still use my constitutional power and have my stand over this process.
Thank you. Please.
Sovereignty and territorial integrity. And as I remember in last summer, the Kosovo's action or unilateral action to take control on the northern part of Mitrovica was not so very much appreciated. What would be your message to the international organizations like KFOR or EULEX? What would be your message to these organizations?
Kosovo, as I said in my early remarks, is an independent country, is the sovereign country, is the country which has its territorial integrity, is the country which has so far been recognized by 85 countries in the world, 22 out of 27 of the European countries. And I wouldn't agree with you when you say that the action that has been taken in preserving the rule of law, which I can say that is the constitutional and legal right for the institutions of Kosovo to maintain the rule of law in the whole territory of Kosovo. And the part which I wouldn't agree with you was that that process and that engagement has been done in the full cooperation and coordination with all of the international and local partners operating in Kosovo.
Please.
My name is Valerie Knyazeva from the Tallinn University International Studies, Russian Federation. I just want to say thank you for a very passionate, enthusiastic speech. It deserves all the credit. You have mentioned the territorial integrity a few times. Kosovo has gained independence based on human self-determination, and their secession was based on the desire of human beings to secede from the state when being oppressed. However, it involved violating the state territorial integrity of the state of Serbia. And what do you, as a president of the country, value more, the state territorial integrity or the people's right for the self-determination? That's my first question. And my second question is recent development of the Russian convoys stopping the borders. How do you, as president, how are you going to address this issue of the Russian convoy of humanitarian aid that has been stopping the borders? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the answer to your first question is, and my recommendation would be, without trying to be misunderstood here, I would just refer you to read the ICG report. And the answer on your request, on your question, is into that. How legal it was, how the process has been proceeded, and in all matters related to the sovereignty, independence, and the territorial integrity. So ICG has an answer, the full answer on all of your demands. And as regard of the humanitarian, as you are saying, aid which is coming to one part of the borders of the territory of the Republic of Kosovo, there are some rules and regulations that has to be obeyed in the even in accordance to the international conventions for the humanitarian aid as for second to be obeying the rules of the countries as regard of the humanitarian aid, because you are entering towards the independent country.
Did you want to follow up?
I think this was my first question. I have the ICG report in my hand, and I'm sorry. Thank you. Yeah, and the Declaration of Independence did not violate any international law, and it went all the way in accordance with international law. However, the International Court of Justice refused to answer the question whether Kosovo was entitled to the independence in the first place.
If I'm understanding you correctly, that the Kosovo has declared independence.
The procedures were in accordance with the law, exactly. Yes, you understand me right. The entire issue of whether Kosovo was entitled to the independence was refused to be answered by International Court of Justice.
That was not the question, it was the first time.
Yes, I think
They did not answer that question.
we're not going to resolve, we won't resolve this issue in this forum, but I think it's fair to say that the court answered only the questions that were posed, and the questions were posed by Belgrade, and they have to live with the answers to the questions they posed and not complain that something else was not answered. Please.
Ralph, when he was at the Eurasia Center, can you talk about what kind of relationship? Ralph Winnie with the Eurasia Center, can you discuss the kind of relationship you'd like to see Kosovo have with the People's Republic of China, both the economic and political front?
Well, first of all, we have to invest so much into the infrastructure of from one country to another country. Second would be that I would use you to lobby with China of recognizing Kosovo. Then we can build from there the trade, economy, and other relations. Thank you.
We're expecting results soon. You know.
My name is Milan Mišić. I'm Washington correspondent of Politica, daily from Belgrade. Some Serb politicians are mentioning recently the idea of having an international conference as a way to achieve a historic reconciliation between Serbians and Kosovo Albanians. What will be your comment on that?
Kosovo has done quite of the large process on the issue of the reconciliation through the country, within all the region, within all the municipalities. And the issue of organizing the conference by initiative of one or another country, it is always, and as always, there are good initiatives, but also they have to be respecting the development and also the stand of their neighbor countries.
Please sit back.
international student from Kosovo at American University. I was wondering if you can please explain a little bit the long-term policy strategy for youth development in Kosovo, considering in terms of advancement. And the second one, I heard some reports that you were thinking to run for the next presidential elections. Have you decided on that? Thank you.
I will answer you the second question first, which was my answer towards Mr. Server as well. It is against the Constitution to declare one way or the other way. But when the time will be coming, definitely, that will be following through the Constitution and through the applicable laws in Kosovo. And on the first, there are, I'll say, three main issues that I want to see my country going. First is becoming a member of the European Union. And I have committed for myself, my cabinet, and the all institutions of the Kosovo towards our path for the European Union integration. Second is being a member of the Partnership for Peace, which opens the path for the NATO integration. And third is making a Kosovo as a leading country in the region.
Please.
Thank you, Madam President, Your Excellency. George Panayot of Bulgarian Embassy, Washington, D.C. Welcome, first of all. Thank you for your briefing. And I would like to comment something. We in the Balkans, we know very well that we get too many history. And sometimes I think that we could be sick of it, you know. But I would like to tell you that we're very happy that we are observing progress in your negotiations with Serbia so as to normalize your relations. As we know, on the Balkans, negotiations between the countries there require compromises, sometimes sacrifices. I would like to know what is Serbia ready to sacrifice in those negotiations. But could you answer my question now and tell me what is Kosovo ready to sacrifice in these negotiations? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And yes, indeed, that part of the Balkans itself gathers too much of the history and too much of the background. And on my speech, which was about 9 pages, I had only 2 paragraphs about the history. And I had 8.5 other pages, which were a way forward, and which is the vision forward. Kosovo has started the process of the dialogue, and which I have said that is not the only way, but is the best way for 2 countries which had a conflict and the war to normalize the relation between them. Kosovo has shown to be a great example in the whole region for the good regional cooperation. You can speak out of your experience being very close to Kosovo and what kind of the relation are between Bulgaria and Kosovo. All of the solution which has to come out of this process, without meaning sacrifice or non-sacrifice for one country or for the other country, we have to think about the people and our citizens. They have to be the solutions which are in accordance to the European Union best practices and the standards, but at the same time, which is to me one of the major issues, is to serve, to normalize the lives of all of the people in Kosovo and in Serbia. These latest statements which were raised, which are trying to go underline here about the partition, about the exchange of the territory, or any other stories, my answer always to what that was, that please forget the past. People has not to be led by the history. These are the consequences. This history has brought a lot of consequences that even at today's date, we are paying a big price and a big consequences out of that. Today's world, today's century is built in the pillars of good neighborhood relation and the proper integration. That's the path and that's the direction that the leadership of Kosovo and the people of Kosovo, including majority and minority, has been choosing. And any sacrifice which leads towards that path is valued.
Please, Slobodan.
My name is Slobodan Pavlović. I represent Daily Danas from Belgrade, Serbia. Madam President, I was told that you speak fluently Serbian. So my first message for you is Dobro došli u Washington, which is welcome to Washington for our American friends. And my question is, in the name of the goodwill and your good intentions, would you accept an invitation from Belgrade to go there and to talk to the people who are in charge, or to some representatives of NGOs or some liberal opposition parties? When was the last time that you've been to Belgrade? And do you have any preconditions to accept such invitations, if it comes by any group?
Thank you very much. And yes, indeed, I speak few of the languages, only briefly. But I try to speak the languages of my communities when I speak to them and when I address to them. And I want to be sure that my message for them goes through and is being properly understood. And that's the stand that I take it within Kosovo and outside as well. And your second part of the question, will I be ready? It's not the first time that this question has been addressed to me. And my answer was always very short and very simple. That I am ready to meet with anyone, at any time, at any place, as two independent and sovereign countries for the sake of my country and my people.
Other questions? Well, it seems to me we've had a magnificent presentation from the President of Kosovo, who clearly represents many different things. I hope the youth of Kosovo feels represented, because they don't get a lot younger than this as president. This is a new generation. It's a generation that's represented by somebody who wants law and order, who's worked hard for it, who is clearly playing a role that's beyond politics in a way that I think does great credit to her and to Kosovo, in a way that represents Kosovo's European aspirations and its hopes for friendship with the United States. And we very much hope that will be reciprocated by our authorities. So thank you very much, Madam President.
How can it be? Johns Hopkins University, presidente Atifete Jahjaga, foldi me studenti dhe profesorët e këtij universiteti si dhe me shumë korrespondentë medjave të Balkanit dhe këtu medjave amerikane për situatën e Kosovës dhe për integrimin